So a few days ago, my wife and I were on our way home from Vanderbilt. As we drove through the rain and the road construction, we literally witnessed a miracle. Hi, guys. Pastor Roy here to share a little hope and maybe some perspective with you today. So let me tell you what happened. We had just driven through a downpour. Listen, we had driven through torrential rain from Nashville to Knoxville. We're east of Knoxville now, and just driven through another downpour. We're on the interstate. There's water standing on the interstate, and I'm being hyper vigilant, super cautious, allowing plenty of room for the other drivers around us. And so I'm driving and I'm watching the car in front of me, and I've allowed plenty of distance, and I notice the back end of the car in front of us begin to fishtail. And the next thing I know, the car spins, and I'm looking at the driver's door. Okay, I'm looking at the driver's door. Now, both vehicles still traveling eastbound, moving in the same direction. The only difference is they're sideways in our lane right now. Okay, so and they slide like this for it was just a couple of seconds. It seemed like forever, and then the car slides, it spins on around, and I'm looking out my windshield into his windshield, and we're looking eye to eye. Okay, I'm facing eastbound, he's facing westbound, but we're both moving eastbound. You get this? All right, so I see him, he's got the death grip on the steering wheel, and he's scared to death, and he's, ah. And I'm sure I had the same expression on my face because, I'm looking at a potential head-on collision. I'm sure I was doing the same thing. And so we're just looking at each other, white-knuckling the steering wheels. And his car just spins the rest of the way around until he's eastbound the same as I am. We're both eastbound again. And I don't know what happened at that point, if he overcorrected or what. But the car just continued to spin, and he spun gently off into the median. I remember thinking to myself as I'm looking through my windshield and through his windshield into his face that this just can't end well, And so as we continue down the interstate and we glance back, and he's just sitting there, I remember thinking that, my wife and I, we looked at each other and we're like, oh my goodness, what just happened? What just happened? But there was my fear was being in a collision on the interstate, but that didn't happen. As he spun off into the median, there was no wreck. There was no one hurt. As far as I could tell, there was not even any damage to his car. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt like your life was like that? I mean, one minute you're cruising along without a care in the world, and all of a sudden, life happens. things spin out of control. I mean, the direction you think you should be going is completely changed. Nothing looks the same. You struggle to regain control, to correct your course, but it seems like the only thing you're doing is making things worse. And then, when you don't know what else to do, you're brought to a place of safety. You're brought to a place where you can catch your breath and evaluate. Evaluate where you are now. Evaluate what happened and how you got here. And evaluate what you need to do to get headed in the right direction again. You see, I don't know your situation today, but I can assure you, we've all felt like that. We've all felt things spinning out of control. In Mark chapter 4, Jesus had been teaching by the sea, and a large crowd began to form, and that happened a lot. And Jesus spent the afternoon teaching the people using parables, and that's something he did quite often. And evening came around, and he sent the crowd home, and he and his disciples got into a boat, and they set sail. And they hadn't much more than pushed off from the shore, and Jesus curled up on a cushion and fell asleep. And as he was sleeping, a terrible storm rolled in on top of him. And the weather became so bad that these seasoned sailors that were on this boat with Jesus, they began to fear for their lives. I mean, you can just imagine how bad this storm must have been. And Jesus was asleep. Well, they woke him up. And get this, when they woke him up, they were upset with him because of his apparent lack of concern for their situation. Well, then something amazing happened. Jesus exercised his authority over this situation. He exercised his authority over nature. He exercised his authority over this problem that was staring them in the face. And he simply said, "Peace, be still." And everything calmed down. Maybe you need to allow Jesus to speak peace into your situation right now. Maybe for you, life is spinning out of control. Maybe for you, you don't know what else to do. You've tried everything. Try this. Take a moment. Ask him to bring peace, the kind of peace that only he can bring into your situation. Ask him to work in your life.